Last but not least, analytical procedures. What are those steps in performing analytical procedures? What are the 5 steps in performing analytical procedures? Yes. So the first one, develop an expectation. What does the auditor think that balance should be? And that could be based on what it was last year. It can be based on some industry growth, right? But develop an expectation. 2, define a significant or tolerable difference. Define a tolerable difference or significant difference. What do we mean by that? Well, when you actually get to step 3 and you compare the actual with the estimate, that tolerable difference is what you're going to allow with and say, okay, that's within reason, right? That's within my tolerable difference. If it's outside of that, you're going to do step 4. So you have to develop what that tolerable difference is in step 2. It could be 1%, it could be 5%, it could be $10, it could be $1,000. It's going to depend on what you're doing, but you have to define that tolerable difference. 3, you're going to compare. So compare your estimate with what it actually was. 4, investigate if it's outside of your tolerable difference, the difference between the two from step 3. So you investigate if it's above or outside of your tolerable difference. And then 5, document. You always document. Define expectation, develop a tolerable difference, compare the actual with the estimate, investigate, document. Everybody's gonna get that right on the test. Cemented in your. Now remember what I said about analytical procedures? Even though it's one of the 8 that we're talking about here, they really don't give you, like the book might say they give you evidence over every procedure. Actually, they give you not evidence on anything really. If I take, and we're not going to talk about it here, but we'll talk about the difference between horizontal and vertical analytical procedures. But imagine this. Imagine that you have an Excel spreadsheet with all the balance sheet accounts going down, and then you have a column for 2020 and 2021, right? So the expectation is going to be, it's going to be the same as 2020, right? You compare the two, and if your tolerable difference is 10%, you're like, oh no, it's 20%. There's a 20% difference between that year and this year, and you go and investigate. Did that tell you whether or not cash existed? No. Did it tell you whether or not liabilities were complete? No. All it did was kind of tell you that there might be more risk in this account because it's way different than we thought it was. So analytic procedures are more of attention directing exercises. They tell you where increased risk might be, but they don't really give you solid evidence over any of the assertions because you have to go dig and get that information. So analytic procedures are more of risk identifying or attention directing exercises. They're really quick to perform, and they're really effective at directing the auditor's attention where there might be a high risk area. Like if I use cash as an example, I should not have used cash because when we get to the cash chapter, we'll talk about how you can't do analytical procedures on cash. I should have just used accounts payable. Planning in a computerized environment. What's an audit trail? It's got a kind of generic, so it's just a chain of evidence. It's a trail, chain of evidence. If we're talking about in a computerized environment, it might be code or cross-referencing. The book talks about documentation connecting balances or summary results. That's what we refer to as an audit trail, right? So just a chain of evidence, right? How you can go from one balance to a summary or a summary back to how that summary was put together. So the auditor uses what's called computer assisted audit techniques. Actually, there's 2 T's. Computer assisted audit techniques or tools. Change the T if you want. They're called CATs, right? Computer assisted audit techniques or tools. CATs assist auditor with efficiency. When we talked about recalculation, if I tried to recalculate something using my brain and my fingers, it wouldn't be as efficient as if I did it with Excel or some sort of other technology or even a calculator. So they assist the auditor with efficiency. They can be helpful with recalculation. They can also be helpful with even statistically selecting samples for confirmations. They can very much be helpful when doing analytical procedures. But overall, it helps the auditor with efficiency.